being a Christian is just, I just want to get into heaven. Being a vessel is, I don't want to die filled with things that God has asked me to do. I want to die empty.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy J Cobb, and you're listening to the Cobbcast, a place for like-minded entrepreneurs to connect, share, and grow. And I'm your host, Jermaine Cobbins, where I'll be sharing valuable content to help you to become a better entrepreneur and an all-around better person. We'll be discussing mindset techniques, business strategies, and ways to help take your life and business to the next level. So whether you're driving right now, whether you're at home, whether you're at work, go ahead and turn your speakers up, sit back, and let's ride. Yo, what's going on, guys? Your boy J Cobb, guys, and today's episode is super special, guys. I have a special guest here, and the idea is we're on episode 10, all right? And this right here, guys, is basically one of my first interviews, and I have a special guest, and this guy here, guys, he's near and dear to me, all right? He's a serial entrepreneur, all right? He's a dance instructor. He's also an author, just wrote his first book. He's a man of God, he's a husband, he's a father, and most importantly, guys, this is my blood brother, Gary McCullum. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man?
And we're going to rock this thing out. So, look, guys, you guys sit back, man, and really get ready to take some notes. We're going to have a lot of fun. Some of you guys have never basically seen where I interact with people, right? You know what I mean? Like, you see me from video, you hear me on these episodes, but this right here is an energy, guys, that I can't really explain, all right? But we're going to spend a few minutes. We're going to have a good time, let him introduce himself a little bit in depth of what he do, what he brings to the table, and some of the things that he's looking to do. So let the people hear it, man.
What's going on, everybody? First off, I just want to say thank you to Jermaine for bringing me on. I'm excited to be here. As he mentioned, my name is Gary McCullum. I do a lot, and I tell people that behind my name, just put a slash, because there's so many different things that come behind it. A lot of days I forget. So starting at the top, I am a dance instructor at Law Middle School, choir director. I am a POC team leader, which means that I'm over a few teachers. I'm fine arts department chair. I was also treasurer for a charter school in Covington County. I've done music for years. Obviously, I'm an author. I'm a minister at my church, husband. I'm a father, loving brother to my brother here. So much, but I'm grateful for it all. Like I said, I do a lot, but it doesn't even feel like I'm doing a lot some days. You know, when you do what you love, it's kind of like I don't have enough time to do it. And even in my sleep, sometimes I'm still thinking about, man, you know, I couldn't finish this today. I couldn't do this today. Let me put it on my notes for tomorrow. Then tomorrow will come, and then another slash will be added. So just recently picked up DJing. And so this afternoon, I have to go and DJ at a reception. So in any case, I'm glad to be here.
That's it, man. So here's the deal. We're going to have a lot of fun, guys. The idea is, you know, my demographic is typically people of the time of this video is actually 30 or above, anywhere from 30 to around 50, and he has a younger demographic. Actually, I'm only about 9 years your senior, somewhere
Right.
up in there. So, but the connection is a phenom, guys. But we're gonna talk about this book as well. We're gonna hit on this, and we're also gonna share with you guys how you can grab your copy at the end of this episode. So be sure to stay tuned for that. All right, but we're gonna go ahead and dive into him because his time is really valuable, guys. All right. So the first thing I want to hit on, man, you know, we're talking about, you know, you're an author now, like, and this is one of the things that I was like, wow, like, because you kind of hit us with it, like, it was like one of those things that kind of snuck up, you know, and I was like, man, I never knew you was writing, and this, you know, this guy here is one of the reasons that I'm actually starting to write next month, I'm sorry, to possibly have my book out around 2020 to 2021. However, you know, let's talk about the transformation. Let's talk about being accepted, because you mentioned this in your book, and you mentioned, and I didn't even know this, like, you mentioned, you know, being around guys that really didn't fit our demographic, right? We were raised fairly well, so we know, you know, being in the streets and being, you know, around gang members and things like that was just not our thing. But I didn't know you went through some things like that. So, you know, talk about the transformation, and, you know, how was it when you come to realization that, you know what, these are not my type of people?
Well, I think it even goes back further than that. It actually starts with just me going into elementary school. I was never the kid that had a lot of people around me. Although I wanted more friendships, I wanted more people that I can either call or, they can kind of come and, play with me from time to time. I just never really had a whole lot of it. And so from about kindergarten to 6th grade, I was always on the outside of the fence trying to figure out how can I get inside. And so when I got to middle school, I'll never forget it. I came home one day and I told Mom, I was crying. I said, Mom, these kids, they've been talking about me. It's the same ones. They're calling me fat. They're saying this and that. And she said something to me. We were standing in the kitchen. I'll never forget it. She said, if you don't like what people are saying, change it. That's all she said to me. And so that next summer, it rung in my head the entire school year. And so that summer I got up and I said, you know what? I'm going to change it. I'm going to do something about it. I started running. And every morning I would get up and I would run. It was one morning I ran so far that I didn't even have enough energy to come back to the house. I had to walk.
Back.
I had to walk back to the house. And so I did that for that entire summer every morning. And it had even gotten to the point to where I felt like a member of the Titans, remember the Titans, to where people would see me in the neighborhood at a certain time. They knew I was coming. And so I linked up with you and we started kind of working out together. And so when I went back to school, my whole physical persona had changed. And so people were saying, hey man, when did you drop weight? What are you doing? Are you playing football? No, man, I'm just, I'm out here just trying to change. Yeah. So still though, I was still missing something. So 8th grade, I went to the high school. And when I got to the high school, I fell back into that slump of, all right, I'm still on the outside of the fence. The people are waving at me. They see me on the outside of the fence, but I can't get in. And so I had a friend of mine who walked up to me one day, and he was like, man, listen, I'm a part of this organization, and we want you to be a part of it because we see you, looking this way. You're always, kind of eating by yourself. You don't have a whole lot of people around you, so we want to support you. In any way that we can. And so, initially I jumped to it because I saw that these were guys on the inside of the fence. And so I started attaching myself to them, and slowly they started kind of letting me know of some things that they wanted. And, it was like, well, okay, Gary, if you're going to be with us, we need you to stop wearing these colors. And we only need you to wear red. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's cool and everything, but blue is my favorite color. So that my first problem was there, and so I slowly started kind of making a shift a little bit, started changing my dress a little bit. And then the second time I was approached by this guy, he told me, he was like, well, Gary, we need you to learn this phrase. Okay, if you say this phrase or if you hear this phrase, you have to drop what you're doing and go to the point of origin where that phrase originated. And if you're in trouble and you say this phrase, whoever's in the area that hears it, that's attached to our organization, they are going to drop what they're doing to come and assist you. And my question to him was, well, he was talking about a fight. And I was like, up until this point, I hadn't been in a fight. So you want me to drop what I'm doing to go fight, even though I don't know what it's about? Like, what if the person that says the phrase is the aggressor? It's their fault. That didn't register to me. And so the final, just kind of, I guess, needle was, the guy came up to me and he was like, well, Gary, listen, we have these meetings in this part of town, at midnight. And, I'm like, hold up, no, because I'm 9th, 10th grader in high school. I'm like, man, I don't drive, and ain't no way in the world I'm going to convince my mom to let me out of the house at midnight and come to this part of town for no meeting. And so I sat back and I'm like, man, okay, I at first, like the first day or two, it felt good because I felt like I was on the inside of the fence. But then it started feeling like something just wasn't right. And so after I self-assessed and I evaluated myself in my life, I noticed that being on the outside of the fence was the freedom. I can do whatever I want, go wherever I want on the outside of the fence. But when I get inside the fence, trying to impress these people, trying to live by this rule, live by that rule, I'm automatically putting myself in a confining space. And so I said, you know what? until I leave this place, my goal is to break as many rules as I can in a good way.
In a good way.
I wanted to do some things that would make people notice that I was on the outside of the fence, and that it's okay to be on the outside of the fence. So, very first thing, I became a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Very first thing, you know. And so when I told people, you know, hey man, listen, I'm joining the cheerleading squad. You know, two things came up. Man, no, you funny with it, man. No, ain't no black guy that look like you for to be on no cheerleading team, and you know, and all this other stuff. And then, you know, the second thing was why. You know, you could play football, you could do this, you could do that. Why did you, you know, and my mission was to prove to people that it's okay to be on the outside of the fence as long as you have acceptance within yourself. So after that, and, you know, I tell people even today that cheerleading helped pay for my college, you know, so they laughed at it, you know, for a little while until the money kind of started flowing in. From there, senior year, you know, I'm once again guy on the outside of the fence. I don't have a whole lot of people around me. I said, you know what? I'm gonna run for class president. Don't know nothing about the position. I don't know. I literally
about like the country now.
Right. I put my name on the ballot, and this was my campaign strategy. I got a class one day, and I was good friends with the office workers. So I went and got a pack of paper, like a pack of unopened paper. And I typed up on the computer in the library, vote for Gary. That's all it said. No picture, no nothing. So I had one of the office workers to make 500 copies of that one piece of paper. And I stood on one end of the hallway, maybe 5 minutes before the bell rung. And I had the pack in my hand, and I just took off running. And so as I was running, the papers were flying out of my hand. And so when the bell rung, everybody just saw the papers all over the place. And, you know, I did it as a joke. You know, it was completely, it was funny to me. But I'm just loving being on the outside of the fence. Well, when everything, I guess when the dust settled, and they called my name, Gary McCullum, class president, I'm like, wait a minute, you know, I didn't even think that something like that was possible. But once again, that's what happens when you live on the outside of the fence.
So what advice would you give some of the younger generation that are feeling that they need to be part of an organization or part of a gang or need to do something to fit in? Like, what are some things that you can give them to say that, you know what, this is something that may not fit your end goal? Like, what would you give that that young person that's lost, right?
Well, the first thing that I would say, Jermaine, is number one, it's all a lie.
Okay.
Everything they say is a lie. And it only ends two ways. Three, really, if you think about it. You're either going to get jumped out, which is you get beat up really bad, you get thrown in jail, or you die. You go to the grave. Now, I've been blessed to be a part of a church that we go to the prison here in Leakesville, Mississippi, every third Sunday. And we go and we witness to the guys down there. And I always tell them, my kids that I teach, every time we go, on the way out, I always hear the same thing. I wish I could have. I wish I would have if I would have just listened. So anything that you want in life, you can have it. And you don't need external assistance to get it. If you have acceptance within yourself, no matter what you believe in, you know, now I'm a Christian, but if you have acceptance within yourself, no matter what it is, if it's financial freedom, if it's a house, if it's a car, if it's just peace, you can have that. You don't need anything else to be drawn to you. Because if you can't, and you said this to me over the years, if you can't make yourself happy, nothing that you add to your life will make you happy.
That's it. And, you know, mentioning that, you know, he's a Christian, that actually brings us to the next topic. And the thing is, you know, just to put out there, you know, we're in a time right now, guys, where it's almost like, and I heard this, I think, on a Revoke interview where it was like, you know, people are basically being mad at one another for what God you believe in. Like, it'll become a thing that if you don't believe in this God, something is wrong with you. And he mentioned, you know, that he's a Christian, you know, so am myself. But let's talk about that. Like, what happened in your life, you know, to where you got to a point to where you wanted to start sharing the word of God?
It felt natural to me. Even before I had a deep understanding of who God was, I can remember Mom giving us just very basic Christian principles, not even really fully understanding who she was talking about, but she would tell us things like treat people right. Despite how people treat you, you don't have to retaliate, or repay evil for evil.
Yep.
And so it just felt natural. So, I was always, even though I was on the outside of the fence and there were people on the inside, people would always come up to the gate and talk to me, and they would, ask me. And a lot of times it was behind the veil because they didn't want anybody on the inside to see that they were coming to the gate, for any type of advice or anything. And so I would give people advice. And the older I got, the more mature I got in the faith, the more I started reading the Bible, I realized that the stuff that I had been telling people for years, it was already in here. It felt like talking, to me. And then, like I tell people all the time, and this is not knocking any other religion or any other belief, in the United States, we can believe whatever we want to believe. But, to me, when I look at Christianity, it's low cost. Like it doesn't cost me anything to treat people well. It doesn't cost me anything to pray to God. It doesn't cost me anything to do the right thing despite the situations or the circumstances around me. And so, like I said, I would just see, just through experiences, things that I would pray for that would manifest themselves, things that I would be, even stuff that I would even want, but not pray for. I'll never forget, this is, I guess, one of the days that kind of solidified my faith. I was leaving school, work, where I work, Laura Middle School. And I just always have the thought in my mind of, man, God, you do a lot for me. The simple processes of waking me up, to get me started. When I wake up, I haven't lost my mind. And so I was leaving school and I looked up to the sky and I said, God, what can I do for you? You do a lot for
powerful.
me. What can I do to serve you? What can I do to bring a smile to somebody's face?
Powerful.
And that's when we get into the regard of becoming a vessel.
Okay.
So being a Christian and being a vessel, to me, those are two kind of seeds in the same fruit, but one is just deeper than the other one.
Okay.
Being a Christian is just, I just want to get into heaven. Being a vessel is, I don't want to die filled with things that God has asked me to do. I want to die empty. I've done everything that I could to assist people. I've helped people. My wife and I talk about it all the time. My funeral, and it's not about popularity, but it's going to be packed.
Yeah.
Like when I die, it's going to be standing room only because I know I've touched a lot of lives.
That's it.
Same thing for you.
Yeah.
We've done a whole lot of things to help and assist other people, and it's going to be standing room only. And I heard this, lastly, I heard this from a mentor when I worked in Memphis. I was a part of this little boys mentor group, and I was only down there to give them access to the room where they were. And so, but I walked in, being at the right place at the right time. He had a tombstone on the board, and the tombstone, it just simply had the birth date, the dash, the death date, and then the name. And he asked the young boys, he said, out of everything that you see, what is the most important? And so you had kids to say, their name. You had some kids to say the birth date, and some kids said the death date. And he said, no, the most important thing on this tombstone is the dash.
That's it.
What do you do in between these two dates?
That's it.
That's what matters.
That's it.
So,
I love that. What we're going to do, guys, we're going to actually come back. We're going to actually do a part 2 of this, all right? Continue listening, all right? Because here's the thing. He mentioned about when God is doing things in his life, manifesting things, whether it's, internally, whether it's materialistically. The idea is, I think this is where a lot of people begin to lose their belief in God. Is because they don't understand that, okay, if God doesn't give me something, God doesn't love me. So we're going to come back in just a second, guys. All right, so stay tuned. Yo, what's going on, guys? Jay Cobb here. So I hope you're enjoying this episode as much as I am. If so, do me a favor by smashing the like button. Don't forget to share this video out and be sure to leave a comment. Also, if you're ever looking for ways to generate income from home on a shoestring budget, even with limited time, then I'm your guy. There should be some links below in the description, guys. Also, if you're just really loving this Cobbcast episode and you want to contribute, there will be a link below for contributions. Other than that, guys, we're heading back to your Cobbcast episode. Thanks for listening. All right, guys, so here's the deal. We're back, and the idea, we was just talking about how, God has worked in his life, whether it's, like I said, internally, whether it's materialistically. And I believe this is where a lot of people begin to lose their faith. It's because we pray, right? And he mentioned, like, you know, our mother instilled some really great morals, as well as my grandmother, you know, praying, paying tithes, you know, being kind and generous to people. However, you know, you get to this place in your life and you're like, man, like, I'm praying for this, but this is not happening. And a lot of times, I believe, and I could be wrong, I let him give his opinion. I believe a lot of times we lose our faith because we pray for something and it doesn't happen, so we begin to lose our faith in God. So what can you give to the people that may be going through that tough time, maybe looking for that breakthrough, and they're praying, they're hoping, they're wishing, but nothing is changing? What can you give them?
Well, I want to start in a couple different places. So the first thing, or the first place that I want to start in is in Daniel chapter 3 in the Bible. Now, we're familiar with the characters Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And basically there was this king that wanted them to worship another god. Everybody else bowed but these three. And so they made the statement that even if God, because the king was talking about throwing them into the furnace if they didn't bow and they were going to burn. And the three boys made the statement that even if God doesn't deliver us, it still does not change the fact that he's God. And he can. The story ends with them being thrown into the furnace and the fire being, the Bible describes it as 7 times hotter than it normally was ever lit. And it was so hot that even when one of the guards went to check on it, he died from the heat. Well, when the other guard went up and he looked in, he saw 4 standing in there. And he said the 4th person looks like the Son of Man. So I'll say that to go to this. It's all a season. Okay. I personally believe that in every aspect of life, God has built things or tools or doors for us to either look at, use, to help us in our walk. I think about those times like the actual seasons of the planet. So in spring we go through an abundance. Things are growing, things are prospering with everything that we touch. Then you go into summer where, you know, you have a little bit of prosperity, but it's kind of like, all right, it's starting to get a little tough, but I can still make it. Then you get to fall. Hold on now, stuff is starting to change up a little bit. It's not as green as it used to be. It's starting to kind of get a little cold. Then you go to winter, okay? And in the winter, people kind of look at it in different aspects. Winter can be hard. Winter can be brutal. And I thought about it like a tree. Why is it that in the winter the tree is the most naked? You know, it doesn't have any leaves, things are cold, but you know, a healthy tree, it doesn't die in the winter. And I had to understand that the leaves fall off so that the energy inside of the tree can be conserved or preserved. So you may go through a time in your life to where it's like, okay, well, Lord, I'm not getting this is not happening, but I want to encourage you not to lose faith, because maybe the reason why it's not happening is because you don't need it. That's right. You know, now we can pray about a lot of things, like, you know, I know where I am right now. If the Lord blesses me today with $1 million, I'm not prepared for it.
That's right. And a lot of time we take that as a punishment, and understand that when you pray for something, ask for something, whether it's, you know, better health or whether it's something materialistically, understand that God will not bless you with anything, like he said, that he feel that you're not prepared for or that you can't maintain. I will believe that God doesn't take from me, right? And my God doesn't take. My God doesn't strip. My God may remove some things that are not healthy or that are toxic, but I have an abundant God. And long as I'm becoming, it's always about the becoming. When you become, I feel like you can have anything your heart desire, right? So just moving on, all right? He hit a little bit about, you know, the book. We talked a little bit about the book. But I want to talk about, and this is 2 questions, okay? What inspired you to write this book, and how difficult is the process? Because I'm about to start writing. Okay. So I need to know this, all right? But what inspired you to write the book, and how difficult is the process?
I went through a stage of getting sick of crap happening. Like, I just got sick of, Lord, I don't understand. Why is this going? I feel like I'm doing this. Really, what we just talked about. You know, I feel like this is happening. Wait a minute. And this was in Memphis. And so, you know, I tell people all the time, I made the most money that I probably ever made in my life in Memphis. But as far as being just filled with joy, I didn't have that every day when I was in Memphis. And so one day I was driving to work, and it was about a 30-minute commute from where I live. And the Lord just spoke to me, just enjoy the ride. You know,
Yeah.
you're focused on why it's not happening. You're focused on why this isn't going right, why, you know, this didn't add up, why this didn't link up. You know, why not just focus on enjoying the ride and trusting that on the end of it, it's going to work out. Because the Bible does say that all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord. I know I love the Lord. So having faith in that scripture, I know that it's going to play out. But so many of us, we get caught up on looking out the window and just being upset that, okay, it's too many trees, it's not no city, you know, this isn't happening, that isn't happening, and God is just like, look, enjoy the ride, because it's not going to change, you know, because of who I am, who I profess to worship and believe in. The Bible even says that, you know, we're going to go through some hardships.
That's right.
You know, the only day that the hardships stop is when your heart stops.
That's it.
That's the only time that they're going to stop. So instead of focusing on the negative all the time, just learn to enjoy the ride.
That's it.
And you asked me about the process of writing the book. It was tough, y'all. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was a person in school that I didn't like writing. Now I could tell you, I could talk your ear off.
Yeah.
But as far as writing it down, I did not. Even today, I still have some troubles with it. And so, you know, the first thing I did was I prayed, God, look, if this is what you want me to do, you want to help me. Because, I mean, this is an area where I definitely need some help in. And so I started really kind of following after you. And, you know, you and I would talk a little bit about discipline. So then I got on YouTube and I started following E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher. And so he would talk about discipline and discipline yourself. And he would always talk about waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, and him having so much more time to get a whole lot of stuff done even before the sun comes up. And so, you know, I couldn't get up at 3. Tried it one day and it hurt so bad, y'all. I couldn't do 3. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna get up at 4:30.
Okay.
I'm gonna get up at 4:30. So I put myself on a schedule. So from 4:30 to 4:45, I would pray, read my Bible. From 4:45 until 4:55, I would check. I have like little stocks and stuff like that, so I would check my stocks, try to see if any changes have happened. From about 4:55 or about 5 o'clock up until 5:15, 5:20, that would be my writing time. And to all of my writers out there, I can't recall who the person was that said it, but I read a valuable piece of information, and it said that when the flow stops, you stop. So whether you know are in mid-sentence or you feel like, man, let me just finish this chapter out, because I ran into people that say, I try to get a chapter a day. Hey, if it's flowing, get a chapter a day. But if you only write 2 sentences and the flow stops, stop. Because when you try to force the flow, you mess up. And the book becomes really boring, you know, at that point, because you're trying to force something. You can even read it in other books. There was a book that I picked up, I won't say the author's name, but it's called When the Push Comes to Shove. And the book, I could feel in the book, okay, you're pushing this. You know, this is not genuine information. This is you're trying to fill these pages up with words so that you can get this book out to share. So just, you know, write a little bit at a time. Don't follow everybody else. You know, it's based on you. If it takes you 2 years to do it, if it takes you 5 years to do it, just complete it. Don't stop. I started in July. And this was last year. I started in July. No, actually March. I started writing in March. But it was, all I had was the summary for the back. All I had was maybe 3 chapters. And so, you know, that was it. And so I just kind of piddled around with it. Some mornings I would wake up and I wouldn't feel nothing. And at first I felt bad until I started saying, you know what? If there's no flow, there's no go. You know, so if I wake up and even if I would just think about the book, okay, cool, let me just think about it. But then some days, sometimes during the day, I'll be, you know, grocery shopping or something like that, and it'll hit me. Pull my phone out. I type that down, get it all out. Then I would go back and transfer it over to the book. So that happened, like I said, March, April. I stopped in May, picked it back up in June, July. It was the same kind of system. To where it was just, I was piddling around. And a lot of days, I felt the flow, but I was just lazy. You know, and so I stopped writing in July, and I really, in October, I said, you know what, man, I need to finish this, because I don't want to die and be the person that always telling people, you know, I'm writing a book, but it's never finished. You know, so from October to December, every morning I got up, if I felt the flow, I did something. If I didn't feel the flow, I would think about what I want the cover of the book to look like, what I want the font to look like. I would do something geared toward the book. And then December, I finished the book. January 1st, I released it.
Love it, man. And we're going to share with you guys where you can actually pick this book up. I know for sure it's on Amazon. Enjoy the ride, trust the process, guys. Remember this name, Gary McCullum Jr., guys. Go grab a copy of this book. I wanted to just briefly hit on, all right, we got about 3-4 minutes.
Okay.
Chapter 7 in this book, and it talked about the destiny-driven decisions. And the idea was, you mentioned that you was someone that didn't like to write. I didn't even like to read, right? So I'm a reader now, and then I'm talking about going into writing, and you mentioned that life is going to be tough. But I've learned, guys, that when you begin to challenge your own self, when you begin to push yourself to grow in all areas, do things that, what I like to call unsexy, do the things you really don't want to do, there's really nothing that life can do to you to bring you down. Like, you will have your moments, but in that moment, this is a test. This is short-lived. So, but you talked about destiny-driven decisions. Give people, real briefly, before we get out of here, how they can actually find their destiny. Because the first question is, what does it mean to have a destiny?
All right, so to just kind of give this out really quickly, in education we always talk about data-driven decisions, which means that every decision that you make needs to be based off data and the projection of that data. So destiny-driven decisions is talking about no matter what you do, every single step that you make in life, it needs to always be about your destiny. So how do you find that destiny? You already have. You've just never identified it as your destiny. It's something that you wake up doing every single day with no effort. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't feel bad for doing it. I used to always think, Lord, I can't figure it out. But I would get text messages and phone calls. Hey, G, I'm going through this. Can you help me? Can you say this? And I would say something to him or give them a scripture, and then I would go back to God and be like, okay, man, what's my destiny, Lord? I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. Then I get another phone call when the Lord was like, okay, your destiny is you're going to be here to assist people. And I had to be comfortable with being a bridge. See, the bridge, it only helps people to get across. And there's not a whole lot of glory in the bridge other than the fact that without you, they couldn't get across.
And it's under a lot of stress.
It is.
Forget that part.
It is. And every bridge, because I know that there are some bridges listening, every bridge needs time for maintenance. Every single one of them. So I even talk about in the book timeouts, and you have to get the book to go deeper into it about that. But every single day, once you really hone in on, okay, I do this if it's hair, I do this flawlessly. So every morning you wake up, make steps toward either doing hair, getting your own business, getting attached to someone influential that can help you further that goal. If it's cooking, no matter what it is, every single day, wake up with a intentional decision on making those steps toward your destiny.
I love it. So, real quick, where can people connect with you? You talk about getting with influential people, some positive people in your life. I tell people all the time, social media is not negative. It's the people that you're following. And a lot of times that's where your mind is at. That's who you're aligning yourself with. So how can people connect with you? Where are you at? Where's your content? Things like that.
So as Jermaine mentioned, you can get the book on Amazon, Enjoy the Ride, Trust the Process by myself, Gary McCullum. I have some handles. I wrote them down. So on Facebook, it's just Gary McCullum. Find me on Facebook as Gary McCullum. Instagram is McCullum_family_man. So that's McCullum Family Man, but underscore in between every word. On Twitter, it's McCullum_Jr. And on Snapchat, it's Gary_McCullum Jr.
Good deal. So any last thoughts for the people? Any quotes? Anything that you want to leave the people with before we get out of here?
This is something that I believe that the Lord gave to me when I was in Memphis. And I wrote it down, and I say it every single morning. I was created in excellence, by excellence, for excellence. Anything else is a waste of life. If you understand that the being that created you, the process that it took to create you, and just who you are excellent, then you don't deserve to accept anything or give out anything less than excellence. Every single step, every single thing that you do, it has to be excellent. Even when I have a good day, I'm like, oh man, I missed something because it wasn't excellent. Because God created me in an excellent fashion. He created me to be excellent. So no matter what you're going through, just remember that. Okay, push as hard as you can, as far as you can. And I promise you, when the Lord sees you doing that, He'll pick you up and take you places that you never thought you'd be in. Like me sitting in this seat with my brother as an author. Mind blowing.
Love it. So, to wrap it up, be sure to connect with me. His handles will be in the description if you're actually watching or listening to this on YouTube. If you're watching on any of your favorite podcast apps, be sure to subscribe. I'm pretty sure he will be coming out with a podcast pretty soon, all right? And be sure to follow me because I will be eventually in the future giving away copies of these books absolutely free. So you got to follow my page to see how you can get that. But other than that, bro, I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you for
Best of
having me,
luck
man.
in the future, man. And hey, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Gary
Love you guys.
McCullum
Stay strong.
Jr. It's your boy Jay Cobb. Be humble, be consistent, be you.